The death penalty now in play for the man accused of gunning down Charlie Kirk. This morning, the text messages that point to a confession. Plus, TikTok gets a reprieve, a U.S.-China deal that even Trump is backing. And the end of an era for Ben & Jerry's, why one half of the iconic duo is calling it quits. The stories that matter, clear and credible, from across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News. Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. This morning, the man accused of assassinating conservative activist Charlie Kirk is now facing 7 felony charges, and prosecutors are pursuing the death penalty. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson appeared in court by video Tuesday, saying little as a judge in Utah read the charges, including aggravated murder, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors say Robinson fired a bolt-action rifle from a rooftop, striking Kirk in the neck as he spoke to students at Utah Valley University. They say DNA on the rifle trigger matches Robinson, and he left a chilling note under his keyboard that read, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." According to court documents, Robinson and his roommate were in a romantic relationship. Now we're seeing their text exchange from the day of the shooting. Let's take a look together, and I'll narrate. Tyler texts, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." "What? You're joking, right?" the roommate responded. Tyler said, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." The roommate asked, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" "I am. I'm sorry," Robinson said. The roommate replied, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No. They grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." "Why?" the roommate asked. "Why did I do it?" "Yeah." Robinson then texted, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Prosecutors say Robinson planned the attack for more than a week and urged his partner to delete their texts. He was arrested days later near his hometown of St. George, Utah. He's due back in court September 29th. In Washington, FBI Director Kash Patel is set to testify before the House Judiciary Committee this morning, facing questions about his handling of the Charlie Kirk assassination investigation and his overall leadership at the Bureau. It comes after a fiery 4.5-hour Senate hearing yesterday where Patel clashed with Democrats repeatedly. In his opening statement, Ranking Member Dick Durbin condemned Patel for spreading, quote, "mass confusion" after he posted on X that Kirk's killer had been caught hours after the shooting, a claim that turned out to be false. Patel stood by the post.
Could I have been more careful in my verbiage and included an A subject instead of subject? Sure, in the heat of the moment, but I was doing the best I could.
You know, candor, I don't quite get that, because if we have our man, that would suggest to the public that everybody can rest and relax and not then continue to provide information to local law enforcement and to you.
Well,
so that was a mistake.
I don't see it as a mistake. I see it as something working with the public to identify that there was a subject
So if
in
you
custody.
Patel was also pressed on whether 22-year-old Tyler Robinson acted alone. He said the case is, quote, "very much ongoing," and that the FBI is investigating more than 20 Discord users from a chat room where Robinson allegedly took responsibility for the shooting. But Kirk's case was just one flashpoint. Patel faced heavy scrutiny over his handling of the Epstein files, including the decision to move Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security prison in Texas after her interview with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. That's when tensions boiled over and insults flew.
The Bureau of Prisons decided on their own, without any consultation with Blanche or anyone else, that they were going to suddenly, after this interview, completely unrelated to this interview, completely unrelated to anything she said, move her to a prison not suitable for a sex offender. You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No. I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're not in
inmates.
the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an internet troll.
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. We are bringing historic reform.
Next, Patel got into a shouting match with Senator Cory Booker, who ripped him over the Kirk case, the Epstein files, and the removal of FBI agents. Watch.
I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is my
I follow
time.
you on your social media posts that
It is
tears
my
this country
time
apart.
to
There
address
should be a
your
unifying-
falsehoods.
Oh,
You are an
you can try
embarrassment
all
to the
you
division
want
in this country.
to not
Senator,
take
it is my
responsibility
time.
for
You
what you
had
have
your
said.
time.
Sir, you're
Your
making a
time is
mockery of this
over.
committee. Sir, you don't tell me my time is over.
Today's hearing in the House begins at 10 a.m. Eastern. Senator Ted Cruz yesterday called the Senate session political theater. We'll see if today brings more of the same. The director, who was ousted from the CDC just weeks after her Senate confirmation, is set to testify this morning on Capitol Hill. CBS News has obtained the prepared testimony of Susan Minares. She's set to tell the Senate Health Committee today that she was fired after refusing to pre-approve vaccine recommendations regardless of scientific evidence and declining to fire career CDC scientists. One quote reads, "Secretary Kennedy demanded two things of me that were inconsistent with my oath of office and the ethics required of a public official. He directed me to commit in advance to approving every ACIP recommendation, regardless of the scientific evidence. He also directed me to dismiss career officials responsible for vaccine policy without cause. He said if I was unwilling to do both, I should resign." Minares says she refused and was fired. HHS denies her claims, calling her insubordinate and accusing her of undermining the Trump administration's agenda. President Trump and First Lady Melania are in the UK this morning, welcomed Tuesday by dignitaries and members of the Royal Air Force as their state visit began. You see them there. Later today, they will be honored guests of King Charles and Queen Camilla at Windsor Castle. The welcome ceremony includes a carriage procession, a military flyover, and a banquet at St. George's Hall, complete with speeches and toasts. The trip began with a major announcement, a new technology pact between the United States and Britain. Big names like Google, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have committed tens of millions of dollars to develop AI, quantum computing, and nuclear energy. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called it a deal that will shape the future for millions on both sides of the Atlantic. But the visit to Windsor Castle took an unexpected turn Tuesday night. Police arrested 4 people after images of Trump and convicted sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein were projected onto Windsor Castle. The projections included photos of Trump and Epstein together and a lewd birthday message Trump allegedly sent Epstein in 2003. TikTok may have just dodged another ban after a breakthrough deal between the United States and China. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent met face-to-face with Chinese officials in Madrid this week, finalizing what both sides are calling a framework agreement that would overhaul TikTok's U.S. operations. The Wall Street Journal reports that under the deal, TikTok's American business would shift to a new U.S.-based entity with a group of big-name investors, including Oracle, Silver Lake, and Andreessen Horowitz, owning 80% of the company. TikTok's algorithm, developed in China, would be licensed but run by U.S. engineers. Oracle would keep handling Americans' user data. President Trump announced the arrangement to reporters outside the White House on Tuesday.
Well, we have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We made a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they've made in the past. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it, And, you know, the kids wanted it so badly. I had parents calling me up. They don't want it for themselves. They want it for their kids. They say, if I don't get it done, they're in big trouble with their kids.
Trump has pushed the official ban deadline to December 16th. If this deal holds, it could finally end the years-long battle over TikTok and keep the app online for its 170 million American users. Finally this morning, the next time you reach for that favorite tub of Ben & Jerry's, it'll be just Ben. Not officially, but for the first time, Jerry Greenfield is out. Jerry's departure was announced by Ben Cohen himself, who posted his longtime partner's resignation letter online. In it, Greenfield calls it one of the hardest decisions of his life, saying standing up for the values of justice, equity, and our shared humanity has never been more important. And yet Ben & Jerry's has been silenced, sidelined for fear of upsetting those in power. He's talking about a long-running feud with Unilever, the megacorp that brought back Ben & Jerry's in 2000. Ben & Jerry's built their brand on more than ice cream, taking stands on climate change, police reform, Trump policies, and most recently, Israel's war in Gaza. Greenfield says that social mission is now being muzzled, and the independent voice they were promised in the sale agreement has melted away. So what's Ben & Jerry's without Jerry? Well, hopefully tasty for its supporters and customers. By the way, in pre-reading the story, that reminded me, I never made it to DQ for ice cream this summer. I'm a big Dairy Queen fan, big presence here in Omaha, Nebraska. I usually like the large chocolate and vanilla mixed together with a cherry shell. I never stopped in. That bums me out. I guess, you know, trying to eliminate sweets and eat healthy, not all that fun sometimes. All right, before we head out, here's what we're tracking today. The former CDC director heads to the Hill this morning with Susan Menara set to testify after her controversial ouster over vaccine policy. Also at 10, President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump participate in a St. George's Chapel visit and wreath laying at the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II. Then at 2:30, all eyes on the Fed, with a rate cut likely as Jerome Powell gives a press conference. And at 4, Vice President J.D. Vance hits the trail again, visiting a Michigan manufacturer as he promotes President Trump's agenda. Get the headlines without the hangover. Sign up for our Unbiased Updates newsletter. Just straight facts every morning. Go to san.com/newsletters. Those are your Unbiased Updates for this Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.